Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to KRS TV. This is your boy Kenny, and this is Greenleaf Season 3, Episode 13, and this is the season finale, and the name of this episode is called The New Life. I have to say this was a really good episode, and I cannot wait for this show to come back because they've already been approved for Season 4, so I cannot wait to see how things are going to take off now how the way it ended. I want to see what's now going to transpire once Season 4 comes back, and I'm so anticipating it. So let me begin. The episode picks up where it left off. Basie has the bishop at gunpoint. We see that they're going back and forth, and then Corinne comes in, and he turns the gun on Corinne's ass. And Corinne just panics or whatever, and the bishop tells her, like, no, just go back. Don't say anything. Don't call the police. I got this under control. It's okay. And she ends up leaving. And pretty much Basie tells the bishop that you have amazing faith. But he says too bad that it's displaced. But then the bishop let him know that you're not a killer, Basie. So won't you go in peace and serve the Lord? And pretty much the Basie was like, you do the same. So he takes his gun and he ends up leaving. So I was like, because I thought, my hypothesis was that Basie was going to turn the gun on himself, or because I didn't think he was going to kill the bishop. But I liked how the way that ended, because he saw that the bishop is a man of faith, and the bishop just, at that moment, he showed that God was on his side. So then we see that Corinne lets Lady May know about what was going on between the bishop, between Basie and the bishop, and Charity was there with her, and actually I'm sorry, she was talking to Maxine Patterson, and Corinne then told her what happened, because Lady May right now is feeling herself. She just had her day of reckoning is today. She is feeling herself, and like Maxine is like, yeah girl, you just got you a church. Yeah, you got to just deal with that board and everything, but yeah, you got this. You shut it down today. And so yeah, Lady May is now feeling herself like, I'm about to get to church. But then when she finds out about what happened with the bishop, all of that went completely out the window, and she ran to him and actually, wanted to comfort him to find out what was going on. We see that the two of them have a conversation, and he says, I'm sorry I missed your speech. But he says that the church is yours. You earned it. And she was like, thank you so much, James. Because that's what she wanted. She wanted her moment, and she wants to be the head of the church. And he says that you can have the church. Because after the bishop went through that ordeal, he just realized that, hey, his time is done. He just wants to enjoy the rest of his days in the sun. He don't even want to be a part of that now. So of course, everybody finds out what happened. Jacob finds out about it, and Jacob is like going off on the phone, like, because the bishop is saying he don't want the police, he don't want nobody involved. But Jacob's like, I don't care. Call the doctor. Have the doctor look at him. So we see that even though Jacob has this somewhat tumultuous relationship with his father, he does love his dad. And then like we see that Jacob and Carissa have a moment. And pretty much, they have a conversation because, we saw from the last episode, Zora is now back. Zora is now back home, and they're talking, and she's pretty much saying that, so pretty much, Jacob's like, so what's gonna happen between us? I mean, do you still want to get a divorce? I mean, now Zora's home, and she pretty much says that, I don't know. I really don't know where I stand with you right now, Jacob. you know. And then he gets a call and comes to find out that Joseph, the accountant, he done told the church everything about what was going on, and he implicated the two of them. So now they no longer have a church. They are no longer the heads of Triumph. So we saw that go down. And then we also see that after that whole situation, Lady May goes back to talk to Maxine Patterson that the bishop offered the church to her. And Maxine was like, great, now all you got to do is talk to that board. You know, you go in that board meeting and you take it over. You know, it's your time. So then, like, Maxine, you know, goes back off to do what she does. So she ends up leaving. So then we see that Grace is called to a meeting with Phil and Connie, and they're pretty much saying that the church is about to join with Harmony and Hope, because Connie done worked her magic, and pretty much, you know, the deacon board is dead set on taking down the bishop and Lady May and bringing Phil in as the new head pastor, and that, you know, they're gonna partner with this chain of churches called Harmony and Hope. And it's plainly obvious this whole church thing is all about money. It's all about, you know, making that money, and they want Grace to be the face of Calvary, you know, for a year. You know, they want her to take over as head pastor of the church for a year until they get someone that they want to be in position. And Grace is kind of hesitant. You know, she says, well, can I have some time to pray about it? And he pretty much, and Phil just kind of lets her know that, look, this thing is going to happen with or without you. So I suggest you get on board. And I'm like, here we go. This whole treacherous takeover of the churches. No God in it whatsoever. So then we see that Grace and Lady May have a moment, because after knowing this information, she wants to tell her mother about it, because she knows her mother's dead set on getting the church herself. And while they're talking, you can see that Lady May is feeling herself. She's just hopeful, like, I can't wait to take the church, and it's just going to be a new day, new life. And she's just feeling herself, and then Grace drops the bomb and was like, look, I had a meeting with Connie and Phil, who's the head of Harmony and Hope. They want you and the bishop to retire with full benefits, and they want me to be the interim pastor for a year. And she said, so what did you tell him? She's like, I told him I'll pray about it. And Lady May was like, you didn't tell him no? And then all of a sudden, Lady May just turns on Grace and starts going off like, yeah, I would expect this from you, and blah, blah, blah. And like, how could you not tell them no? You just want it for yourself, and blah. And she says, first of all, and Grace was like, look, what you talking about? Like, first of all, I have been beaten down for decades, and you have always had this vendetta against me. And you know, she's like, oh, here we go again with you. I'm supposed to feel sorry for you, and boo boo this and boo boo. And she's just like, I'm just sick of it, and walked off. And I'm like, Lady May, you got some nerve. You have gave this girl hell for years and have always been nasty to her, and it's because you know in the back of your mind that this child was actually a part of the fact that you stepped out on the bishop, and you know pretty much in the back of your mind that it was a possibility that she was Lionel's child, and you took it out on her all these years. And she pretty much got off on her like, I'm sick of you always coming for me, doing this to me, and I'm about to have my moment, and you want to find a way to sabotage me. I'm just sick of it. And Grace was like, Aaron and I took a blood test. Lionel's my father. And pretty much, you know, Grace breaks down and she says that now I see why you've always been this way towards me, because I'm your shame. You know, I represent that shameful mistake you made, and it's something that you have to see and live with every single day. And that's the reason why you always was mean to me. And I'm like, yeah, Lady May, you think you're going to get that church when you have done all this dirty deeds? And the fact that you have been, you know, alienating and treating Grace badly because you knew in the back of your mind that child was possibly Lionel's. And she's saying that, you know, and Gracie said that it's not fair to me. You know, you're talking about this is messed up, but look at what it's done to me. And pretty much she said, so pretty much she was like, so what do you want to do with this now that you know this information? And she's like, well, I can't keep it a secret. And she's like, well, yeah, of course you can't. I'm like, see, that's your problem, Lady May. Your problem is that you forever keeping secrets and you never want to tell the truth. But then Lady May says she'll tell the bishop, and she says, I'm so sorry to you, and I'm sorry to all that I brought pain to. So then we see, you know, Lady May kind of like getting emotional, walking away, because it's like, yeah, boo-boo, your secret's out now, and now you can't run from it. So then we see that that, you know, the bishop, you know, gets seen by the doctor and everything. And then we see that Jacob comes in and they sit down and they talk. And, you know, and pretty much he lets him know that him and Carissa have been outed. They were rejected from, I'm sorry. Pretty much Jacob tells the bishop that him and Carissa have been kicked out of Triumph. And the board, pretty much after the accountant told them everything, and that he implicated me and Carissa in it, the board wanted us to step down, so we no longer have a church. But then he tells them, won't you come back to Calvary? Your mother's about to take over the church, and your mother could use some help, you know, and plus you're a strong preacher. And he was like, you've never seen me preach, Dad. He says that, what do you think I do, you know, in 3 a.m. when I can't sleep? I go online and I watch my son preaching at Triumph. And you are a strong preacher too. And he said that we need you back at Calvary. So we see that father and son have a moment. So then we get to the daggone board meeting. Lady May pretty much is laying her foundation that I will be great for the church after everything that the bishop's done. I want to stay here and fix it up and make things right. And, you know, the bishop has put in his support of me taking over the church. Oh, but that daggone Connie was definitely turning up her face and pretty much started mentioning and like, you know, Connie was still trying to put her word in, but Lady May kept interrupting her. But then she finally let Connie speak. And Connie was like, well, we've actually have been in talks, and we actually want to bring in harmony and hope, you know, to help take this church in a different direction. And then pretty much Lady May was like, oh yeah, I know about it. Grace told me this morning. So Connie was like, so you mean to tell me you knew this the whole time and you just literally sat up in here and just put on a show for us, and you already know what we're trying to do? And pretty much Lady May went in on Connie. She was like, you have been trying to do things against me and James for over 40 years, and you ain't nothing but Judas in a bad pantsuit. I was like, ooh. And she's saying that here you are, lined yourself with Phil DeMars trying to take over the church, and all you are is somebody who's driving daddy's car with a fake ID. I was like, Lady May, you better read. You better read. She went in on Connie. But then Connie was like, just dropped this file right at Lady May, and see that over 200 they had a petition, and over 200 members have signed off for the bishop and Lady May to step down and for Harmony and Hope to take over the church. And pretty much, you know, she was saying that, yeah, this is a new day. It's now about what the members want. Because we have let you two drag us, you know, all around for over 40 years. And I'm now saying enough. And all of a sudden, we see that Lady Mae walks out and Connie's eyes get big. I'm like, yeah, because Lady Mae was probably going to beat your tail. And she's scared of Mae. Because all of a sudden, she was walking out. All of a sudden, Connie's eyes was like, I'm like, you better be scared because you're playing with fire now. And then after that, you know, the bishop was like, look, I know I did my dirt, and I know I've done everything that I know I own everything that I've done, but you was wrong, Connie. She didn't deserve that. You know, and she's pretty much saying that, well, now it's a time, you know, where it's what the members want that matter. And she pretty much says that you really think you really think that this is an act of God? Harmony and Triumph are scammers. You know, they skim money off the top of all of their churches. And I wouldn't be surprised that after this deal goes through that they won't cut you a big check. And I'm like, yeah, Connie is Connie's sharp though. I have to say, Connie is a sharp woman, because that hair is always laid and she is always dressed to the nines. So Connie be looking sharp. But we can definitely tell that, yeah, Connie wants power herself. She wants to be that power head, and she definitely wants that coin. And he said, I wouldn't be surprised if they cutting you a big check once this deal goes through. And then all of a sudden, you just saw Connie look all simple. I'm like, because she know he's telling the truth. This is about money. Like, when it comes down to church, it's, in most cases, it's about competition, it's about business, and it's about money. So that's what we saw just get displayed in that board meeting. So afterwards, we see that the bishop finds Lady Mae or whatever. They talk or whatever, and she asks, "Are you going back to Percy's?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, it's been quite a day." And she was like, "Won't you come over for dinner? I'll cook." I was like, oh! Now, after all of this, we see that she's now softening up. And the reason is because she knows she's got to tell the bishop the truth about Grace. So, she invites him over, and pretty much after dinner, whatever, they sit down and they have a conversation, and she lets him know, I got to tell you something. You know, Grace is Lionel's daughter. And the bishop says, now we're even. And she's like, why would you say something like that? Why would you say something like that? Because the reason why he said it is because he sees that this has been tearing you up. And yeah, even though you were doing all of this stuff against me, you were tormented in your own right. And then she tells him, you know, he says that, look, Grace is me and Grace have a spiritual connection. So spiritually, she's always going to be my daughter. And it doesn't matter. And pretty much, he said that we've always had a spiritual connection, and that's never going to change. So it was a shock for Lady Mae that she thought that he was going to flip out. But he didn't. Because he said that that's still my child. It don't change nothing. But he said, I've always had my suspicions, but I bonded with that child, and that's my child. And pretty much, she says that, well, I want you to please come back and move in. Could you please come home? So I'm like, here it is that y'all done did all this stuff. You got divorced, but as I said, y'all still love each other, and y'all still want each other. But you both wanted power, and you both wanted your own moment. So it got to the point throughout this whole season, they just been in competition with each other. But now we seen that all of that is out the window, and they want to come together and finally mend things. But he lets her know that I will only come back on one condition. This stubbornness and all of this tension you have against Grace, you need to heal it. And we need to live in this house as a real family. So if you do that, I'll move back in. And she says, yes, I'll make amends with her. So then we get a scene with Carissa and Jacob. And these two are so nasty. Because they pretty much talk. So pretty much, Jacob has now come back into the fold. But then he also knows what happened at that board meeting. That, about, Grace. Because, of course, Jacob knows now that Calvary of Harmony and Hope are taking over the church, and they want Grace as the interim pastor. Oh, this daggone Carissa, the Carissa from season 1 is back. The conniving, treacherous little heifer that we know from season 1, she's now back, because now she's saying that, well, she was saying that, oh, so they're going to make Gigi the head? Well, you need to get back and you need to be there so, so therefore they can possibly make you the head of the church. And then she was saying that, and besides, I need you to find you a spot because I'm the mother of your children and I'm going to need help taking care of these kids. And besides, somebody needs to guide you because obviously you are not able to guide yourself. So I gotta take over. And Jacob's like, so you mean that, you want to stay together? She was like, well, yeah. He says, I thought you wanted a divorce. She says, I did ask for a divorce, but I then told you when it came down to it, I don't know. Now I do. Because it's just because I already see this going down. Like, you need me to guide you and you need me to lead you because obviously you do not know how to lead yourself. And when it comes down to this church, we know how Grace is. Grace gonna say something stupid and then that's when you can come in and you can take over. We need to align yourself with Grace and with Calvary, and we need to find a spot for ourselves or whatever. And I was just looking at this thing and I'm like, Carissa, you conniving little snake. And I was just like, wow. The old, and pretty much we see, because you know that Jacob's for the BS. So Jacob's all getting turned on, now that Connie's being bossy and now that Carissa's being bossy and domineering. All of a sudden, he's now throwing it on her. And then the next thing you know, she was setting the table because the kids are on their way home. Oh, trust and believe. Instead of eating, he put Carissa on that table and decided to have a midnight snack in the middle of the day. Started eating her box, and you just see Carissa just smiling. I'm like, Carissa, you conniving little something, because you know that she's playing this like, oh, now I'm gonna take over and now I'm going to direct everything, because she stepped back and let Jacob be the head, and she's seeing that Jacob can't handle that. But I was just like, and and I'm like, dang, y'all about to feed the kids, y'all better wipe that table down, nasty asses, up in there doing all that freaky crap. Ain't nothing wrong with being freaky. I ain't denying that. But boo-boo, there's a time and a place. And first of all, it may have been the time, but the tabletop was not the place for that. Especially when she already was setting the table, and was about to get things ready for dinner, but he decided to have a midnight snack during dinner time. So then we see that Basie calls Tasha. Basie's on the run. He's in this store or whatever. And he's trying to talk to Tasha. Tasha's like, she done cut a deal with the feds. And she's pretty much about to go into hiding. And she's pretty much telling Basie, I'm done. Like, why are you still calling me? And he's like, that's because you my sweet ass girl. Still doing that pimp and hoe thing. And then pretty much after that, she just said bye Basie. And he gets to the counter, And what he was buying came up to 4017, and he was like, yes, 17, my lucky number. And then the next thing you know, we see that this big guy behind him comes in front and slams 17 cents on the counter. So he already can see that this is probably somebody that's after him, because you know Basie owes a lot of people money, and he got a list of gambling debts, which was what Rochelle was saying what that money was for, to help pay off his debts. But this fool's talking about taking the money and running across the border. So all of a sudden, we see that he gets in the car and he tells Rochelle, drive, just drive. And we see that they pull off and the guy follows them. So we're going to see in season 4 what's going to happen with the two of them. Alright. So then we get this scene. And in this, I am going to go in, because we have a scene with Grace and Aaron. She comes to find out that Lionel had left her $3 million. And then we come to find out that he left Aaron nothing. And I'm like, Lionel, burn in hell, because you are not getting into heaven. First of all, you rejected your son because your son was gay, but yet it was your son that was paying your medical bills when you were in hospice. He was the only one coming to see your behind. The only person that came to see him besides him was Lady Mae, and she dropped by that one time when he wanted to discuss his daughter. The daughter that he never cared for, and the daughter he never claimed. But now on your deathbed, you want to claim your daughter, and then you leave her $3 million and leave Aaron nothing? And you think you getting through the pearly gates with that? I'm like, Lionel was a piece of work. Lionel was trash, as I said before. And that really made me mad. You literally spited your son because you couldn't accept his sexuality, but yet your son was the one that was there for you and the only one that really cared for you, and yet you would do him like that? But I loved how Aaron responded. Aaron said that, look, I wanted his love and his acceptance, and I didn't even get that. And that to me was more valuable than any money. So I don't want his money. Because Grace was saying, I can give you half of this, or you can take it. You can have this. He said, I don't want his money. I don't want nothing from him. He didn't accept me, and he didn't love me, and this was an act to show that he never loved me. Because if he did, he would have looked out for me the way that I loved him. But he said that, look, if you can't accept me for who I am, I don't want your money. And I'm okay. And she said, spoken like a true man of God. And that was also kind of letting people know that, yes, gay men are men of God as well. And that was that was like a really good moment. But I was like, Lionel, you dirty bastard. You dirty piece of crap. You went to your grave being spiteful, and you think you was going to get into heaven? Access denied. So then we see that Grace actually goes to another meeting, and is with this this guy who's the head of Harmony of Hope. He's a white man. I forgot his name. If y'all remember his name, put it down in the comments. But we can definitely tell in this situation, this guy literally sounded like the devil. And he's saying that you are a prophet, and your voice is what's going to unite the church, and it's that voice is what's going to take us all to the next level. And it's going to even be great for you, because think about how your voice is going to take you to bigger and better opportunities. So are you in? And she's just kind of looking like, but she can already in the back of her mind, Grace don't trust him at all. Grace don't trust him at all. Oh yeah, the guy's name was Bob Whitmore. And he pretty much was just, pretty much he was a demon. You know, because the way he was coming at it, it was kind of like how Satan took Jesus on the mount and showed him the cities of the world. That's exactly what he was doing with Grace, and Grace wasn't feeling it. And she tells the bishop that she doesn't trust him. And pretty much he was saying that, he tells Grace that he decided to step down. Me being in the pulpit cost me everything, after, money from the IRS and all of that. But pretty much Grace decides to give that $3 million to him to settle that whole IRS situation. And here it is, Grace is trying to tell him about the fact that she's Lionel's daughter, and she's trying to get it out, but she can't. But then he pretty much says that we live by the Spirit, and as far as the Spirit, you will always be my daughter. And you are my daughter, and you always will be. So that was a relief. So now Grace knows that he knows. And that was a really touching moment, because he says that above everything, you're still my daughter, regardless. That was beautiful. So then we go to the actual service on Sunday. We see that everybody's there. The Harmony of Hope people is there. The whole congregation's full. And, he pretty much does this sermon. And I was kind of feeling some way, because you can definitely tell that the bishop was kind of off balance and that something wasn't right. And he pretty much talked about, about Moses, not being able to enter into the promised land, and that he had to go in the mountain and actually see the rest of his kin crossing the River Jordan. And he was saying that he would never actually enter into the promised land, but he said that Moses still was triumphant because he actually saw his people crossing that river to the promised land. He said, do you think that Moses was upset that he couldn't go? Moses was happy. He was happy that he was able to save his people, and that he laid down the path for them to follow. And and that Moses felt proud to see them cross that river. And that he knew them. He knew their suffering. He knew their pain. He knew everything they had to face. But he was grateful. And then as he was grateful, I'm grateful. And he gets a standing ovation. The bishop is waving, and the next thing you know, he just passes out. And of course, they all run to his aid, and he said that this is my vision. This is the moment. Because you remember, like in the last episode, he was telling Grace and the lawyer that I had a vision of when my last day is going to be, and it's not going to be in prison. But he's saying that this is my vision. This is what I knew. This is going to be my last. This is supposed to be my last moments. And then the next thing you know, we saw him pass out, and I was like, what? I'm like, y'all better not kill the bishop. Then we later on, this is like post that happening, we get a scene with Sophia and Grace. We get a scene with Sophia and Zora. Zora pretty much is saying that, I'm going to be going to therapy to figure out what was it that made me be attracted to that loser. And I really want to, get back in school, because I plan on going to school in New York. And Sophia was like, well, I hope that once we go our separate ways, that we still keep in touch and that we never fight again. And it's great to see that these two cousins finally come back and they mend their bond, because they love each other. Zora and Sophia love each other, and it was great to see the two of them come back together. Then we get a scene back at the house. We see Grace and Lady May is there. Jacob has decided to move back into the house, so obviously he decided to listen to Carissa and get himself back into the field with the family. And we also see that that Lady May and Grace have a moment, and she says that from here on out, I'm gonna try to mend things between the two of us. And Grace is like, I would love that. Then we also see that Charity is there with Aaron and Kevin, and then after Charity leaves, Messy Kevin is like, so, are you going to make the announcement that you and Aaron are half brother and sister? Grace was like, not tonight, because tonight is about my father. So we're still thinking that it's possibly that the bishop is dead, and maybe they're just having like some, memorial get-together or something. So then we get to the kitchen. Carissa is doing the most because Marisol is setting up the table, and she's like, oh, we don't really need these, we can take these back. And then she's also going in on Zora, because Zora's like, Mom, I'm sorry. She's like, look, I told you this and I told you that, but she's like, but Dad said I can go. She's like, your dad don't run nothing, I run this family, and you need to do this and you need to do that. And then Zora's saying, yes ma'am, yes ma'am. So Zora's getting it together. She's finally getting herself together. And then she's like, oh, Marisol, you are doing the most. We don't need these. And she takes the candles and was like walking away. We don't need these. And Lady Mae was like, Marisol knows what she's doing. Let Marisol do her job, and you calm your nerves. And I'm like, Carissa going back to being who she is, doing the most when she need to sit down. Because she said that your strength is best in stillness. I remember she told her that in season 1. And it's like Lady Mae is again letting Carissa know, fall back, girl. You're doing too much. So then when it came down to them doing the prayer, so then they all get to the dinner table. And the next thing you know, we see the bishop come downstairs. And I'm like, thank God the bishop is still alive. So then they decided to do grace, and Lady Mae asked for Grace to lead the prayer, and she prays in that, I thank you, Lord, for that you've been giving us another day, and I pray, Lord, that you guide us to take back what is ours. So yeah, Grace is going to take back the church from harmony and hope. So I want to see how this is going to play out. So that's where it ended, and I have to say kudos to the cast and crew, because you guys deliver a great show every single time. And I cannot wait till season 4. So that's what I have. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. So subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all of my social platforms. I have them all listed in the description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I will be back with season 4 of Greenleaf. I can't wait, y'all. So until next time, everybody, take care.